Hello, everyone. Welcome to VR Verdict, episode number 99.
Damn.
I'm PJ.
I'm Wookie.
I am the Baron from Blade Sorcery.
It's nice to have you, man. I really thank you for the short notice. That actually we're kind of talking, and the guest that was supposed to come on backed out, and you're like, "I can do it." So it was awesome.
Brilliant. No, it worked out fantastic.
Yeah. So, for those who don't know, you are the community manager and producer of Blade Sorcery.
Yes, that is correct.
You guys just launched Blade Sorcery Nomad on Quest. How is launch going with that?
It's so we just launched about a week ago. It's going absolutely brilliant.
Awesome.
But it's madness. It's pure madness. Like just the volume of new players we have going, the volume of new tech support, that I'm running at the moment. And then just like a lot of stuff basically. So it's been really fantastic. We're completely blessed, but busy as hell. I'm on like hour 15, I think, right now of my work.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's been a long old day. Yeah.
A lot of people calling in, me blades don't work.
I got the blades, but I don't get the sorcery. Sometimes that's an actual thing, by the way.
Oh, wow.
It's a dud. Cast a fireball.
Yeah.
Dud.
I think the biggest question I think is on everyone's mind is how the hell did you get this on the running on the Quest? Because PC version is great, it works really well, but the Quest is the Quest, the mobile processor. Like, what did you guys do?
That screenshot right there in the bottom right for the people that are listening in, it's like Skyrim Castletown stuff. How does that fit on the? I have the Quest 1. Would that make my face melt?
So I should just know it's not officially supported on the Quest 1. However, there are people out there saying that they've gotten it sideloaded.
Nice.
But that's your own business if you do that. We're definitely not running tech support for Quest 1. So how it happened on Quest, completely crazy because for 3 years we're telling people, forget about it. It's not going to happen. And then suddenly we announced it and then released it straight away. So how it all happened was basically we tried it with the Quest 1 and it was truly impossible. It just couldn't be managed without watering it down super just to the point that it's basically not even Blade and Sorcery anymore, Yeah, so so that was why we were so sure that it wasn't going to happen. But what kind of opened doors was we had an update about a year ago, update 8, and it was not good. It was a huge overhaul of the game, and it introduced like a lot of new stuff, a lot of new graphics and stuff like that, and it had major performance problems. So we found that the lag spikes that were happening when the characters were spawning, and so the issue was basically in the character system. So that led to this big 6-month redo of the character system. It was a huge pain. However, it was worth doing because when we got to the other side of it, we had the 8.4 beta, which turned into update 9. When we got to the other side of it, it was very much worth doing. Like, it was a big performance boost, and it was very well received by all the fans and stuff like that. So when we were doing that, it was so effective. That was kind of when the little seed was first like, hey, this is maybe there's something here. This is actually working pretty good. So we went back and looked at the Quest, and as I say, couldn't be done. But then we kind of thought, well, what if we just abandon Quest 1 and just focus on Quest 2, which is significantly better.
Now, does Oculus allow that? Because some developers have said they kind of don't like that, but more games are starting to do it.
Right. Well, I couldn't. I would imagine they don't like it, but we did it anyway, and they were super happy, to get a Quest version. Period. So so that was kind of where it came from. And then the last little, we did the test and the quest, and I was like, okay, this is going to work, but obviously there's some differences. The graphics are going to be significantly less. So then the last little piece of the puzzle was, how do we do this in the quest without hurting the PC? Because that was very important to us, And in the end, after much going through kind of like the roadmap and seeing was this possible, we decided, what if we split it as a sister game? And so therefore, the PC title will be completely untouched. Roadmap doesn't change. But obviously, sucks for us because then we have to develop two games in parallel. Mm-hmm. But we also kind of looked into that and made sure, hey, is this possible? Is this going to hurt the roadmap? Is this going to hurt the dev time? When we were able to piece all that together, that's how it became. So it was like, okay, we can do it, but this is the rules. It's going to be Quest 2. It's going to not touch the PC in any shape or form. And that's how it came to be.
Nice.
So,
I was curious when you're doing that and there's cross-buy, cross-play options and all that. I'm assuming since you had to pretty much make a whole new team and do that, it is kind of like its own game. So I'm assuming that's why
exactly
do those things.
So we don't. That was like one of the things we thought about, which was, do you know what I mean? Like if a game worked on Quest and PC, then typically the player gets the benefit of both. That's cool. But this would be a problem for us because it was going to be a separate title, so we couldn't do cross play or cross buy like that. We were kind of worried it might be an issue, but it really actually wasn't. Actually everybody's been super duper cool. Like I would say 99% of people I've interacted with totally recognize, you know what, I see what you did here. This is why it's a sister game. And actually most people are really happy. We didn't crush it all into the Oculus game or the Quest game, that we did split the titles. So I'm really glad because we put a huge amount of thought into that, and it was a bunch of work. So I'm like really, really happy that that's how fans are receiving it.
Yeah, and I think if you're open and honest, people understand it and accept it, and
very much.
In terms of like remakes and stuff, like I bought the Mass Effect remake, and I was happy to pay because it's a lot of work. I mean, it's not the best thing, and there were some bugs, but it's a lot of work. And like the GTA trilogy remake, a lot of. When you just going to do that for nothing, like on the weekends? Like, come on, that sucks.
Yeah, our theory on it was like you should see. My Twitter is just, if you open my Twitter inbox, it's just, 20 messages a day. Is this come to Quest? Is this come to Quest? Is this come to Quest? And PlayStation 2. Is this come PlayStation? So I've been getting those messages for years. And so, we knew there was an audience there who they just don't have the PC, but they're dying to play the game.
Yeah.
So our theory was, if you have it on PC and you're playing it, well, then you're grand. All is well. You have the higher, fidelity version. It has more options for like physics and stuff like that. That's brilliant. But if you're one of these people who doesn't have a PC, you literally just have the headset. Well, then you're not going to get the PC version. You'll be glad to get the Quest version. So we kind of figured it would work out nice, and it kind of is working out nice. So it's been really brilliant so far.
So, whose bright idea was it to launch the Quest version right after the dungeon update came out? Because that was like what, a week apart or so?
Yeah.
Like,
did you like that? Yeah.
Like these guys are crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, there was two things. Basically, it was the first thing was we knew because we were in Oculus QA, so we knew Nomad was going to happen, but we were absolutely adamant we want to launch U10 PC first. And the reason is because it was a huge update. It was a Dungeons update. Super hyped. All the PC fans super hyped about it. So we didn't want to come along with Nomad and suck all the wind, out of the PC version. Because, the players are really hyped for this. And, we're posting memes on the subreddit and we're having a laugh and stuff. So, we don't want to change the narrative there. We want to enjoy this rollout of U10. And then the second thing was, because we're not touching the PC, in any shape or form, we want to make sure that the PC players didn't even think we would hurt the PC in any way. So again, like, everyone's waiting eagerly for U10. last thing we want to do is be like, oh, hey, here's a Quest version. And then PC players like, well, that's great. Where's my U10? You know, so we want to make sure we rolled out U10. It's working well. Players are enjoying it. They're having a good time. And then later it's like, oh, by the way, here's the Quest version. And then why we released it so soon? We just thought it'd be kind of funny. Like we just thought it'd be cool. You know, like to you know, because you know sometimes you hear like, oh, you know, such and such a game's coming out and then coming out next year, and it's like, oh, well, that's great. We just thought, wouldn't it be cool for Quest players who've been, you know, begging for like 3 years? Oh, can you please make a Quest game? Wouldn't it be funny that if it was announced at Connect and then like a week later it's like, you know, announcing Nomad, boom, here it is. You know, and you know, players really did enjoy it. So
yeah, as a gamer, like that's my favorite way to have things announced because I hate waiting like 3 years. Like, when is this coming out? And then I forget about it. You know, all that.
Yeah, because we, you know, like, cause, you know, we don't want to milk it. It's like we just they've waited long enough. You know, so it's like, here you go, just play it. Like it's all good. You know.
And I was surprised to see the dungeons incorporated into Nomad. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was mental. It was really crazy. It was crazy. Like every bit of performance was squeezed out of that little headset. Like really, really was, you know. And Oculus QA is brutal too. You know, they're really, really tough. Because you know they don't want any really lousy performing games on the headset. And so 72 is what the frame rate is. We were really straddling that line, you know. But the hard part is because it's a physics sandbox. It's like, well, you can do whatever you want. So it's like, you know, you could come up with some crazy thing that's going to add a ton of physics strain. You know, like you spawn a bunch of shields and then you kick them and do a flip and jump, and so it was really, really difficult. And you know, that was probably the biggest complaint we had too. Was you know, people getting dips. We had measured ourselves that there was, you know, like the worst dips we were seeing was like 60, 68 frames per second, which is not great. You know, no one's happy about that. But we kind of thought, well, you know, this is something we can work on. It's only a couple of frames. So that's kind of what we're doing right now, actually. But then it's like, you know, on launch day, some people said it was like they were experiencing worse frames than that. But again, it's really hard because it's like, you know, was it something specific? Like, did they trigger a spike lag from some crazy physics, which, you know, we would want not to happen too, but, you know, it's hard to gather data like that, you know.
Yeah. I've always been curious, like, with, like, frame rate and stuff, with the Quest, does it kind of change as the battery depletes? Does it get less powerful? Does that affect anything or not really?
I don't believe so.
Okay. I was just curious. I kind of
I don't believe so. No. Yeah. Whoops.
Uh-oh. Guess he'll be back.
Speaking of low battery.
Yeah. So what is the biggest difference you'd say in the two versions of the game then? Like, what is there something like you just kind of had to give up, like probably shadowing and stuff?
Yeah, exactly. The biggest would be graphics. And you know, I think it's a good looking Quest game, but
it is,
you know, it just does not hold a candle to PC. Like hello. Like PCVR is gorgeous, you know, and we got that like new water going, we got the new lighting system going, there's like all these particle effects, blood decals and stuff. But Quest, it's like, it is what it is, you know, so it's like it's the best we could squeeze out of Quest before it was impossible to do anymore. And so we have other things too, like we you know, we disabled like the blood and wound on bodies and weapons by default. But we kept them anyway. We put them in the options. You can turn them on if you want, with a little warning, you know, hey, this is going to affect your frame rate. And, you know, the reason we did it was because, you know, we're not your parents, you know, like you can do whatever the hell, you know, less frames. But maybe if you're going to play on the arena, you're going to do 1v1s or something like that. No problem, you know. But it's like we don't want to dumb anything down for our players, you know. We just kind of like let our players decide, you know. If you're happy with some frames on this, go ahead and enable all these options.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, options are great.
That's the biggest thing for sure. The graphics. The other thing is the physics in the Quest version would be akin to like the low physics of PCVR. So that was the other trade-off.
Doesn't seem like so bad. I mean, you got some force powers, you're good. Better than none.
Yep, all the spells are there, all the weapons are there, all the maps except the Citadel are there, and we're working on Citadel.
Nice.
Actually, we have something juicy coming for Citadel. We have we completely, not completely redid it, but well, I won't spoil it. But there's some juicy change.
Nice.
You heard it here, listeners.
Yeah,
viewers.
And for any player that probably maybe hasn't got to play the game on PC, like you said, it is a good looking Quest game. Like it runs well and it does what you want it to. So that's
exactly.
Really...
If you've played Quest before, then you kind of know what you're in for. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like visuals and stuff. So what can you say? But it's like, but if you're a PC player, like you own Blade and Sorcery on PC, and then you go from that into Nomad, you're going to be like, what? Because it's significantly like less. You know what I mean? But what can you do? You can't like. It's just the way it is, the way the world is. Like the PC is more powerful than the headset of the Quest. So
if somebody actually complains about that, then they kind of have a common sense problem.
I have seen complaints, but it's like I think maybe some people don't really maybe understand that there is very kind of hard limits, and like you're trying your best, you know what I mean, to constrain something to these very definitive ceilings, so it's like it is what it is, And
I actually played the PC version, went right to the Quest version, and you notice some stuff, but overall, like I was really impressed. Like I was like, how the hell?
Brilliant. Yeah, and like the fact that Dungeons is running, like I still don't get that. That's brilliant. They did a really good job at getting that working. So
it's always confused me because when we first got into, he must be having issues tonight. When we first got into VR, it was all like you need a really good PC and really powerful graphics card and this and that, and that was kind of the high bar, the hurdle. But now games like this are running on a freaking mobile processor, and it's like, why did we have such a high bar then when we started out?
It's almost backwards because even like like a lot of developers are now turning their eyes towards Quest because the market is just so much bigger, and so it's like and it sucks because I'm a big PCVR fanatic. I love PC, love my PC VR games. But as a developer, I can sympathize because they're launching these PC games and there's just no market, and it's like, well, there goes my studio, But it's like, but hey, if we cater to the Quest, then at least we can survive. We can weather out the storm until the player base grows. And on that same note, I understand. I don't like it, but I understand why some developers out there are merging games to be PC and Quest. It's like it's not like they're, likely they don't even want to, but it's just like this is how they need to weather the storm,
Yeah.
And it was just it just so happened we were just lucky. We were in just a privileged position because Blade and Sorcery on the PC had done so well. Like we had a lot of fans who really supported us, and so we were just in this lucky position that we were able to make a sister game. But not every dev is that lucky, So it kind of is what it is,
Yeah. So I've always been curious, with Blade and Sorcery and the shenanigans you can get up to. What's one of the worst things you've seen someone do that kind of made you like, oh, are we doing the should we not be making this game?
Oh man, I've seen a lot of shit at this point. Yeah, like the fans continue to. Let's put it that way. I've seen weird things from like body part effigies to heads on pikes, and it's never just simple. Actually, it's not just like a head on a pike. It's like a head on a statue they built, like a pike statue they built. It's always like these are elaborate, grotesque, kind of things. Let me see. I saw someone like dribbling with like, they had trackers on their feet. They were dribbling ahead. I saw that recently. I saw something crazy actually on the run up to U10. There was a fella on our subreddit, and he was really getting into it, because he was making new posts every day. He was using this this mod. I think it's called lashings, and it's like you can make these kind of like ropes almost, like magical ropes. And he was creating these insane effigies that were just like elaborate, and they had multiple steps and stuff like that. And he was basically summoning, U10. It was just like a little joke, but that was mental. It's completely crazy. So yeah, wow. The stuff they come up with it makes me laugh every time. They just come up with the craziest.
Doesn't make you question humanity, or
yeah. I was just about to say that. Actually, I was just about to say, it's a little bit funny because the developer, the founder of the game, Hospy, is not a big violence or gore fella, and yet he's like accidentally made like what's perceived as one of the most violent games out there. But here's a little disclaimer, okay? Technically, if you go and chopping heads off and sticking them on pikes and making weird statues or bipods, that's on you. We provided the sandbox simulation experience, and it's it's your mind that's coming up with that. And it all goes back to that whole thing. It's like we're not into like dumbing down things or talking down to the audience and giving our players like the benefit of the doubt, and so we don't tell you how to play. And it's literally just a simulation sandbox. And actually that drives some people mad, but we can talk about that later. But yeah, we don't tell you to have fun. So it's like sometimes, I hear people complain about AI and stuff, and a common one is like, hey, if I just put out my sword like this, and I just walk into an enemy, I can stab them, and I can just do that with everyone. I always say to them, are you having fun? And they're not having fun. It's like, well, then what are you doing it for then? So it's a little bit like if you just want to go climb the map, and you want to climb out of the map and just fall into the abyss, that's great. You're playing the game right. If you want to like sword fight in like realistic, holding your sword, brilliant. You're playing the game right. Like if you just want to mess around with physics, putting buckets on heads or dribbling human heads, you're playing the game right. There is no kind of rules, like we want you to have fun whatever way you want to have fun, and if you're having fun, then you're playing the game right.
What I mean? Like, if you're walking around with a sword sticking out and I walk like right into you and you accidentally die, I mean, that's real life.
Yeah. Cool. And I'll tell you something, if that's a fun time for you, then perfect. You're playing it exactly right.
It's like people who use mods, and if they make the game too easy, like I can spawn anything I want, and you ruin the game after 2 days of play, then it's kind of like,
exactly. But the thing we really did learn about this is, some people just are not. That's just not their cup of tea. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the biggest misconceptions about it all, and it's completely understandable by the way, is when you look at Blade and Sorcery, you think to yourself it's going to be a sword fighting action game. That's what you're thinking. So you go in kind of with that vibe. You think I'm about to play a game, and it's going to be a sword fighting action game. In actual fact, Blade and Sorcery is a simulation game disguised as a sword fighting game, and that's I think the part that just is really hard for some people to wrap their heads around. So it's a simulator first. It's a medieval fantasy simulator. That's why you can do so many crazy things, and that's kind of like the secret sauce. That's why it feels so different from every other game. The closest thing you could have is Boneworks, because they also went the physics sandbox route. But that's what it is first. That's why you can do so many strange small things, like dribbling ahead. Or like, hooking swords together and making some crazy thing or whatever. And then from that simulation, there grows the game. A sword fighting game is grown out of it. But because of that, because of the nature of what that is, there's no like levels, there's no like storyline or anything like that. And as I say, some gamers, they just have a hard time with that because they're ready for levels and, direction. and they just don't enjoy like a sandbox. They don't want to be left alone to decide what is fun. They actually kind of want, here's what you're supposed to do, and then you do it and you win it. That's kind of that's what's cool to them, and that's kind of where we're going actually with the final, with dungeons and stuff and the final goal. So we're adding in this progression mode exactly for those kind of players, because for some people they just kind of want a little bit of guidance for what to do next. So there you go.
Funny when that problem comes up, because I don't remember which one it was. One of the Call of Duty Modern Warfares or something. We're going through co-op, like PJ, me, maybe a couple other guys. Came up to this room where we're clearing the room, and we're trying to be tactical, so you got to clear the room before you move on. But the game wanted it scripted, so it wanted you to pass like a certain spot before the guy stops. We're in there for like 30 minutes, going like, this game is suddenly behaving because we didn't get the checkpoint that the game wanted us to go here and do that. We were being tactical.
There you go.
That's been a funny divide. It's kind of like, if I don't give you a checkpoint and you're used to checkpoints, you just sit in the corner and with your thumb in your mouth and cry because the universe just broke. You don't know what to do.
Kind of like on an invisible railroad there,
Right. Your Pokemon Snap game stopped moving, and then life goes nuts. So I love sandbox games.
And I think that's kind of made it difficult with VR games because gamers get into VR thinking, ooh, games, and a lot of like the experiences like are totally different and a little more mind opening, if you will, and like they just don't know what to do, and they're like, well, this is dumb, pass. Like it's interesting.
I haven't shot anybody in the face in the first 3 minutes of hit and go.
I know how weird this sounds, but I'm getting to a stage where I almost don't even think of a Blade and Sorcery like a game anymore. It's like almost like something different, like an experience or something like. But as I say, it's a medieval fantasy simulator, so that's kind of like a weird genre that we don't have. Like we have flight simulator. Whatever. This is a medieval guy simulator, but like this is VR. This is VR. It's like, if we want to do a normal game, we could just do it on PC. But why not utilize all the glory of this immersion? That seems like more logical. If you want just like a run-of-the-mill game, you could go to PC. There's plenty of games out there. And so this is why it's such a weird game. It's really thinking kind of outside the box, and that tends to be polarizing. It tends to either have players who are just like, oh, rabidly love it, or players who are like, I hate this. I don't get it. Why is this so popular? It's a tech demo. That kills me, by the way, when people say that. And they just can't understand, like, what is the appeal about this? And this is it. It's like, I get it. It's weird. It's something different that you've just not seen. With the exception of, like I say, Boneworks is the closest thing you could probably get to it. But even Boneworks, I don't think is on the same as Blade and Sorcery. They're on their own kind of journey.
Yeah, that one of our friends is like that. I remember we might have just said this the other episode, but we were playing like the old Destiny game when that came out, and it was all the craze. And he's like, "There's no chest in this room. If you go down a hallway, there should always be something." But it's like, it's the fun of looking around. Like you can't look at 4 hallways and get something every time. Like it's more fun to just like not know and have it experience it. Don't have to.
So totally you're spot on. Okay, so sometimes I read messages, for the developers and stuff, and people say, again, we're not into the hand holding thing. Give the players the benefit of the doubt. Players are smarter than you think. Let them figure it out. So, we don't have any like compass or maps or anything like that for dungeons. So it's like, figure it out. Just look around.
Yep.
Just do it. Just it's the fun.
Every other game is just like that. I love the games where it's like, if you feel like spending a few minutes, sometimes it's if I'm in a hurry trying to get something done in a game and I don't have a map, it's kind of like, ugh. But the games where like you have the ability to figure it out and it's not, like too confusing. Like the stuff is here, you just do it.
I can't I can't even play most PC games anymore because without turning off the hood, at least. I just tried for the first time Back for Blood. Is that what it's called? The other day. I could barely even see the screen. It's because you got this big, dirty, characters here. You've got objectives here right in your eyeball center. You've got all this information here, all this information. it's like, oh my God, it's basically just looking at like spreadsheets or something, I can't stand HUD. I hate it. So in Blade and Sorcery, everything gamey was pulled out of it, stripped right out of it. No health bars, right? The player has a health bar, but you have to kind of look at it on his wrist. It's kind of like a magically kind of immersive thing. But like enemies, no HP, that kind of stuff.
I always turn that stuff off in games anyway. If I can, it's just I don't know. In real life, if I shot that guy with a sniper rifle and he didn't go down, I wouldn't know that he's only got like 10% health left. I just wanted to like, oh crap, he's running,
I think when you have that kind of stuff on, it makes your interaction with the game different. You think about the game different. So, we strip that stuff out, and that's risky because, because it's kind of untested. Do you know what I mean? Because you're basically saying to a player, like players are used to like say going through dungeons, fighting a bunch of guys, and then they come to a boss. Who's the boss? Well, he's just a normal guy, but he has new attacks, and he has 3 times the HP or something. Well, we were like, screw that. It's like, what if there was like a knight? Okay, he's full clad armor. He looks like this big tough guy, but with his swift stab to the neck, he dies just as good as anyone else.
Yep.
And that was the risks. That was the gamble we took, because it was like no one was doing this. We don't know how they're gonna, how our players gonna react, but players are loving it. So, but to quickly go back, I was just saying about dungeons. Yeah, I would get some messages and people would be saying, they'd be getting lost in dungeons, and sometimes the exit is on the ceiling. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you have to climb up a rope or climb up some scaffolding or something like that. Sometimes the exit's on the floor. You go down, and it's tricky. But hey, that's kind of the point. You're dungeon splunking. Like it's supposed to be a little bit. Look around, like take your time. Smell the roses. Like it's VR. Enjoy it. Don't race through to the end.
I first started playing like that, like Assassin's Creed Black Flag or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Getting a little bored because I like, it's just easy play, but it's fun to sit through. And I usually don't Google stuff unless there's like I think it's a bug. And I happened to run across like a Kotaku article. It was like, hey, stupid, why don't you turn this stuff off? And then instead of like looking at the ground and the checkpoints and the dotted lines, like you look up in the trees, there's a monkey, shoot the monkey. And Ubisoft is great for the HUD. Just take the HUD off because you're right. It's like a barrier betwing you and the visual. So
I'm 100% on your level. That's exactly how I enjoy games. And Black Flag, perfect example. I play Black Flag without a HUD. Turn it all off.
Yep. And then the
only thing I wish you could turn off. You can't turn off. The little highlighter you get on the enemy when you're about to assassinate him. Couldn't turn that off. That's the only thing. Yep. But otherwise, Black Flag is amazing
for that stuff. And the problem I think a lot of game devs have is they don't put in the realistic stuff. Like you said, stab the knight in the neck. What are his real weak points? People don't build the games to like cater to that kind of place. Just use a bullet sponge or whatever they call it. Hit him 3 times more and he's dead. But it's like, well, it takes a little more thought to make it realistic. Make it realistic. Boom, sandbox.
That killed me about Cyberpunk. By the way, I was so devastated because I used to love playing The Witcher without a HUD. You're fighting monsters. It feels a little bit different because it's like you're slashing them. You don't see their health bar, but you're like, well, this is cool because they're monsters or whatever. But in Cyberpunk, that just did not translate because now they're human enemies, but you're shooting them as well. But the sponge is there. The HP bar is there, but you're just sponging bullets on it. Yeah, it really ruined something for me. That game.
I think like the Division games too. This bullet sponges. Ugh.
Exact same problem. I literally couldn't play it. It just put me off so much. Yeah.
And the cool thing, like with dungeons, like you said, like I jumped in without reading, looking at anything, even though you guys don't really say much, which is awesome. And I, crept around, made my way, and I'm like, oh, these are kind of randomized. All right. And I found the one exit on the ceiling because I was just like, I went in every room, took the people out, like looked in every corner. I was like trying to do whatever you could in every room. And first time I played, I made it to the boat, but I think I was on easy because I only had like a half hour to play. It was like really late at night.
Yeah.
So I hit the boat. I'm like, oh, that was awesome. Then I got to get back in there. But yeah, it's just like you kind of come into the level and you can go left or right and down or whatever. And it's just a nice.
Yeah. It's just the attitude. It's just, give your players benefit of the doubt. Players are smarter than you think, and you don't have to keep bombarding them with tutorials. In fact, one of the inspirations for Blade and Sorcery was the old game Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, which myself and Cosby love. And funny enough, that was actually one of the most notorious for, you would always get that little pop-up that says, press X to kick. And it was just throughout the whole, you're 20 hours into the game and you're getting this pop-up saying, press X. It's like, I know how to fucking kick,
Yeah.
But, just, we don't tone down. And even like when it comes to story, so there's no storyline to the game. But that doesn't mean we don't have lore. And we're working on that right now, in fact. But the same thing, we're not going to spoon feed the players lore. We're not, you're not going to get a cutscene that says, welcome to the world of blah, and you are such and such, hero. Blah. No. It's like it's going to be it's going to be way more subtle. So like you could maybe find like runes, kind of like hieroglyphy kind of things on like a dungeon wall or something, and then maybe what is this? And then that might tie into something else, and we let the players piece it together. Let them figure it out. It's a bit more fun.
We just started playing like Forza Horizon 5, which is fun for a driving game. But I sit there and like, pardon my French, but it's like, why do games just sit there and suck the players' balls the whole time? Because it's like, hey, superhero. And then it's like, all like, you're just the God's gift to the game. And the game would, like I said, wouldn't exist if you weren't playing it, really. You think about it that way. But it's
I guess that's it. Yeah. I'm not a fan of that. Like even in games I like Skyrim, like I enjoy Skyrim and stuff, but I always hate that player equals, the hero of the world.
Yeah, and it's just the Dragonborn, and it's just like, just shut up.
Do you know why I think I hate it? Because I feel like the stakes are too low. It's like, I don't know if either of you guys play Dungeons and Dragons, but that's one of the things I always loved about Dungeons and Dragons or any kind of pen and paper roleplay game is you're just some schmuck, and you could die anytime. You're not the hero of the world. You're just some guy, right? And if something goes bad, boom, you're dead. Next character. And I love that because the stakes are high. You feel like, oh, my character, you feel it. Every battle is like tense because you don't want to die. You don't lose your dude. But in those kind of, hero larger than life kind of things, it's kind of like you just feel like you're gonna get to a certain point where you're gonna steamroll over everything. It's coming. You're gonna save the day. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna happen. You're destined for it to happen.
And if they make games like that, what I never understood, it's like a theme park kind of game anyway. I used to play Star Wars Galaxies like 20 years ago. Fantastic game for the time. For the first month it was out, they ruined it. But it's like everywhere you go, it's like, oh, there's Jabba's palace. Oh, everybody's there like in costume doing their stuff. But if you want games like that, how come you even have to die in those games? Like, there's no risk, there's no ever just start the level over. If you're gonna make me play an action movie, why not just like wing me?
Yeah.
And then, I still live through it, so I don't have to redo the damn level. Like, if you're going to kill me, just kill me. Don't make me start. So there's a whole bunch of these design aspects I'm kind of liking about let them go, let them rip.
Yeah. I think it's just like, people are just thinking, okay, what works, what sells? And it's like, why would you risk something different and risk losing it all? And maybe that was like a little advantage we had because, we were such a small studio, like it was really just Cosby. What am I saying? It was just Cosby, and then I came on in the early days, but not as a coder. I'm not a coder or anything. I'm just a community manager first, and then I did the marketing, and now I'm a producer for the studio. But back then, just him. So he didn't have. Not that he didn't have much to lose because he did quit his job and he did spend like years working on it. But if it all went south, he would probably go back. He'd be working back in an office, So it's kind of like he kind of had the opportunity to just try something crazy, and so then he did. He was just kind of like, well, I'm going to do this crazy game. It's going to be a very acquired taste, I think. And if players don't like it, players don't like it. And I'm just going to do it my way. That's it. You like it or you don't like it.
It's like a passion project that really did kind of work out then.
Totally.
That's the best stuff.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, harkening back to the old days. But if you grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s and stuff like that, kind of like channeling some vibes from older games. And that's kind of how we're trying to be as a studio too, not do the kind of corporate studio thing. And, that's why I try to be really, really active as a community manager. I always try and be really, really active, really interactive with the fans and stuff, because I want them to feel like I'm a person, and this is an early access journey. We're all in this together. The fans are worth more than the money in their pockets. You know what I mean? It's which is another thing. It's like don't fuck over your fans. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's not because okay, you could make a big buck fast, but when the next time comes around, forget about it. The fans are going to remember that shit. So it's like so I really try my best when interacting with fans to just tell them exactly what's going on, be really blunt about things, and when there's problems, it's like, hey, this fucking sucks. There's problems. You know what I mean? It's like, but hey, we're working on it. And I feel like we've developed this amazing trust with the community. And so now we have all these Nomad players coming in. Many of them probably don't know us. So this is going to be a new challenge now to have them know us. You know what I mean? Like, we're, myself and Cosby, huge community advocates. We really believe communities are what make the game.
And I appreciate the honesty because you don't get that often. I mean, VR is a whole different thing. Like, we talk to devs obviously all the time, and they're awesome. But like in, flat screen gaming and all that, like there's none of that. And it's just kind of like, like I've said it on the podcast, like VR came along and kind of, I was starting to like hate gaming. I'm like, is it me? Am I getting old? Are the games starting sucking? Is it, Call of Duty every fucking year? It's like, and then VR came and like a whole new fresh breath of air, and it was like, oh, thank God, it's not me. It was game. So
I know
just to be able to reach out to like people like yourself on Twitter and just say, hey, how's it going? And you answer, it's like, that's awesome.
I try to answer literally everything, man. It's crazy, and it's especially crazy now with Nomad. But sometimes my backlog is I'm like working multiple days to get through the message. It's nuts. It is crazy, but I try it because I have this kind of like little personal philosophy, which is really nothing to do with Blade Sorcery. This is my own just little philosophy, which is I personally find the internet super toxic, and I'm not I don't use social media personally and stuff like that. And before Blade Sorcery, I didn't use social media at all. I just was like, I'm done with that. And I think the reason it is this way is because we've all conditioned ourselves thinking about other people like they're not humans. You're just a username. And it's too easy. It's too damn easy to think that way. So when I got into this position where I was like, okay, now I'm leading a community. But hang on a second, I hate internet communities. They're mean and toxic and stuff like that. So when I got into that position, I was like, well, I have my own little space in the internet. I'm going to do something different. So I'm going to treat people like more than just their username. So the reason I try to respond to literally every goddamn comment is because I want the person to know, hey, someone saw you. Someone read that. And even if it's just to say like LOL or something like that, like, hey, I read your comment, I acknowledge you are real, and I just feel like that would make a difference for the guy on the other side then, And hey, our community is awesome. So maybe it's effective, So.
Yeah, I think it is. And we were talking before we did the podcast, and you're like, hey, this sounds like fun. One thing, though, your episodes are like 2 fucking hours long. And like, yeah, that's just, we don't have to do that. Like, I laughed so hard at that because you're just honest, like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Like, no,
oh, man, it's just, I'm so tired. Like, I'd be up at 6 a.m. every morning. It's like 6 p.m. right now. I was up at 3 a.m. this morning. So it's just like, I'd be exhausted. Yeah, I totally wanted to do it, but it's just like, I cannot weather 2.5 hours of chatting.
Yeah. And usually we just try to wrap it up around an hour just to respect people's time. And some people just keep going.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Okay, sure. Yeah. And I might fall asleep if I'm had a long day too in the middle of it.
Yeah. I actually don't even know where we are now in time.
PJ just passed right through your head.
Oh, sorry.
He's like, I don't even know where we are. And you're just like zombieing right. Love the glitch.
It's been 40 minutes.
Oh, brilliant. It flies by. It really does.
It does. That's what happens.
Yeah.
And I love the comparison between what you're explaining, how you guys work and how the game works compared to all the regular flat gaming stuff. Because since, like you said, Witcher came out, fantastic game. It seems like every other game is like, let's pull parts of Witcher and put it in ours. I think even the new Halo game is going to be open world. It's like well, every Ubisoft game is now open world and RPG-ish. And I guess some of them are good, but it's like, do something.
I know. It actually kills me. This is not to say there's no such thing as a good version of this game, but it kind of kills me that, you see another flat game title and it's an early access, open world, sandbox building game, create like in Minecraft, the Minecraft formula. And there's plenty of games that are awesome, like Valheim was a great example that, you can mix it up, but, you see so many Minecraft clones and stuff. And it goes back to the whole thing. Does it work? Will it sell? So developers are sitting there at home, they're thinking, okay, what's going to sell? What's going to make me money? And it's like, well, this is popular, and then they kind of adopt that. And that's totally okay because everything is kind of like done. So everything is kind of based off everything else anyway. But you got to have something unique to it.
Right. You can borrow parts, but you got to have a reason. Like, what's the special sauce?
Yeah. I thought Valheim was great. That was really unique.
Back in your seat.
What's going on here?
Sorry. I'm sitting here.
You're like, hi.
Yeah. The funniest part was he's just like,
sneaking. But I played a lot of Valheim and it's great, but it's also like you can tell what they were doing because when you get to look at the game progression, it's very mechanically and like abusive towards the player's time. It's like you do all this, you level it all up, and then you get one thing and you do it all over again with a new quality, new iron, and then silver, and it's like
pretty much. I don't know. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but a big kind of issue I have with those kind of games, like harvest games, like you have to harvest 10 wood, we don't have a lot of time anymore. And so it's like, if I have like 30 minutes an hour after work, it's like my precious time now, and I want to enjoy my hobby. I don't want to spend it chopping wood. Do you know what I mean?
That's what you want to do. Yeah. But like,
you're right.
I don't want to do that right now.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want to grind. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to just grind to do something. And
it's funny how like games, like, they were like mostly like single player story driven. And then we went to multiplayer and then open world. And now for me, like I'm going back to story. One person, 6-hour game is perfect. I don't need 40. I don't need 60.
Back in your seat.
Oh, I'm still in my seat. I don't know what's going on.
I know, it's just funny.
I'll warp and maybe they'll fix it. There, maybe they'll leave me alone.
Yeah, I feel like it's maybe an age thing too. Like I kind of have a feeling we're probably of the same generation, and it's
I'm 43, I think.
So you're in the 90s. 90s. You grew up in the 90s as well, and it's like I think it's just kind of like this. The new era of kind of game standard is a lot of them are kind of grindy, and it's about maximizing the length that you get out of a game, even if artificial. But for us, with the early 2000 games and stuff like that. And they were mostly kind of story driven, and you play it 5 hours, 6 hours, maybe 10 hours, and that's kind of it. So maybe that's the difference. I don't know.
There are some games, big games, I do enjoy, but like the last one that was World of Warcraft, where like it was grindy, but you could explore these huge freaking areas, and there was always something interesting everywhere. And then the other games that come out that are like that size, that there's just nothing interesting in them.
That people are like, what works, what sells, and then that led to like the MMO craze, where there was like 100 coming out every week, but they were all like 10% as full as Warcraft was because they took that one seriously. And they know that they're clones, and it's like can't keep up.
Yeah, well, this is it. It's like I actually never played World of Warcraft, but from what you're saying, it's like, sure, if you want to have this huge world and it's interesting, well, that's brilliant. That's the best. That's the best ever. But I would suggest don't artificially inflate the game time by adding grind to it and stuff like that. I was really into Ark when that came out. Remember Dinosaur Game? I was really into that. And I tell you, despite being so into it, that was a fucking grind. You know what I mean? Like you're taming dinosaurs for like 8 hours. Now I had the time back then, but now forget about it. Literally, that game is now locked off to me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I just don't get that. I just don't get grind in games. I just don't I just don't get it. You know, it's
grinding to unlock a helmet.
Yeah,
and they're all having the cash shop to shortcut.
that's probably it, actually. Yeah, it's not like, really about grind for enjoyment, is it?
Well, sometimes Halo or not Halo, World of Warcraft introduced the grinding too. I'm sure other games did it first, but that's like the giant spike that there's the Michael Jordan of video games that kind of pulled people in. But every 5 minutes, there's like a new currency. You got to grind rep with these furbolgs or whatever they were called to get some 50 hours worth of work. For like doing the same quest a day or some crap. And it's like, holy crap.
I don't get it. But you hit on something there. Like, I think it's kind of by design. It's kind of like it's not you're grinding because you're gonna have fun. It's you're grinding so you won't have fun and you'll buy the unlock pack or whatever. And again, it's just kind of how it is now. And it wasn't that way in our day, and when expansion packs came out, they were awesome. Do you know what I mean? Like I would look forward, like Baldur's Gate expansion packs. Like, new content for my favorite game. I can't. Awesome. And I remember the first ever expansion pack. If it was even called expansion pack. You remember? I think it was Oblivion. The horse.
You say the horse armor?
Horse DLC.
Yeah. I was going to make a joke about Blade Sorcery, but I won't.
That horse armor horrified me. When that was the first ever time when that kind of thing happened that I can remember. And I was just like, what are they thinking? And now it's like, well, actually, that's like standard now. Like, you see that everywhere.
I was just talking about that with some guy at work the other day. Like, I think he was talking about, what's that silly game that's so popular with children, the third-person shooter? Yeah.
Fortnite?
I'm like, he was talking about, like, his friend was, like, just spending hundreds of dollars. I'm like, remember when they tried to charge $6 for horse armor? This was, like, this week. I'm like, remember that shit? Now it's, like, $10 for an outfit.
Like, God, was it $6?
If I remember
that seems cheap now. Like, it's still too much, but compared to the way it is now, it's like, wow. And we were, like, outraged back then. It's like, this is the worst PR move in history, and like now it's everywhere.
Yeah, nobody had a break. It's nuts because like back in the day, like kids today don't remember. You're playing the NES, and that was probably the only game you're going to have for like 9 months or a year.
Yeah,
and they knew that, so they make them really fucking hard. Like
literally,
you had to work. Yeah. You had to work your ass off, and Super Nintendo's the same way.
Pause or save.
Yeah, a lot of times, you couldn't save. You might get like a level code after that level. Yeah. Weird, but then, like it seems the difficulty is replaced by, like you said, the artificially inflated game time to get you to like, well, you were playing those games for like 3 months. How do you play this game for 3 months? We don't have enough time to make that. So then you just do stupid stuff. So you're doing hard stuff. Now you're doing stupid stuff. And it's just like there seems like there's a logical progression of just crap. And now you got the open world games where it's like, let's fill the map with like 80,000 stupid quests. But it's if people just look, if you're really going to copy The Witcher in the fact that each tiny quest, which are a million of them, were a fully voice acted story.
You're so right. You're so right. I loved that. I loved that every subquest had a plot line, a beginning, a middle, an end, and most of them a little twist.
Characters you cared about.
Amazing. Even the smallest character, he was like interesting. Just this little guy, as opposed to like, go collect 10 wolf pelts. It's like, okay, you did it. Okay, now go collect 10 shells.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
and I remember half of the side quests in Witcher way more than the actual main story.
Me
it's
too.
Bizarre.
Me too, actually. Yeah.
I mean, there was the one quest, and I don't want to give it away, so I'm not going to give specifics because, like, I know it's 2015 or so game, but
I'm going to replay it when the HD version comes out for Xbox.
Somebody hasn't played it, doesn't remember. Like, you do this one tiny thing in the beginning, and then it like sets a cascading of stuff that you just completely forgot about, and it comes back, and you're like, oh shit!
Yeah, brilliant. So
I remember that. And PJ will detest. Like sometimes I just don't forget stuff. Like to this day, I can sit down and play like Zelda, the Super Nintendo Zelda, in like 8 hours, start to finish. I can walk through it, and my brain won't let go of some of that stuff. But it lets go of every other game we've played except for like Witcher 3. Like brain's like, remember that because it's awesome. Don't forget it because I want to play it again someday. But
I know. Witcher 3 was so good, man. I enjoyed it so heartily. You know what I mean? I just enjoyed it so much. It was just really special. Yeah.
Yeah. I walked that map so much.
Yeah, same. I tried not to fast travel as much as I could. I just soaked it in as much as I could. It was brilliant.
I always get in trouble though, especially with open world games, because like you'll out level stuff or you won't be in a level enough or something will be locked.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting 4 hours trying to get into it. That always bothers me. Fantastic. And I know we're getting off the Blade and Sorcery thing, but like
well, we're chatting about all these old games. It's not crazy off topic because it is. I mean, you see where we're going. We're trying something different. You know, we're trying to get away from the cookie cutters of modern gaming and just do something different and not gamey. And so you can see it's basically you can see where the influences came from. You know, it came from the games we grew up on and the way we think about games and the gaming industry and stuff like that.
It's like, you want to make a car game, there's a bunch of them that's been out. You better do something that somebody else hasn't, you know, like, better be the best damn combat game. Like, a lot of people just like, oh, I need to make a combat game, so they put a combat in there and they have everything, and then the combat might not be that good. But it's like, you know, just something unique.
I get a lot of people messaging me, and they're like indie devs, and they say, you know, what's the trick? What's the trick to? How did you sell so much? And you know, what's the trick to the popularity of the game and stuff? And this is something that not everyone likes to hear, and I totally understand it. But I always say to these devs, I say, look at your game. What is your shtick? What is it about your game that if I was just a guy and looking at a store with a 5-second attention span, why am I going to pay for your game and not millions of other games? Okay, so what is it about your game that pops out? And the thing is, when you're developing, you've worked on something for like 2 years, you know, you're putting all your soul into it, you know, and doing it. And if it comes out mediocre, that sucks, you know, like that's not fun, you know. And I think it's really hard, you know, for people to look at something they worked so hard on and then realize that maybe they don't have a shtick, you know, they don't have a unique sell that is going to attract the players. And like I say, it sucks. I completely know it sucks, but that's why, you know, for every one success, there's, you know, 100 fails, you know. So this is it, because it's so saturated, especially PC. Yeah. It's so saturated. So you have to do something a little bit different. Even VR, you know, and VR isn't saturated the same way PC is, but even VR, it's the same thing. It's like if there's like 5, well, when I say 5, if there's like 10 sword fighting games, what's different? Why would I get this one, not this one? And it's like our little thing was, well, we are the only game that had full melee physics. That's it. That's the sell. You want full melee physics? Get this. And then people saw it, were like, I want full melee physics. It's like, and played like, hey, this is different. And that was the appeal of Blade and Sorcery. And you know, as well as this was back in 2018. And like, you got to understand, back then, literally, this was the only game. There was Boneworks was in development at the same time, which was actually super interesting because neither influenced each other. But they were in development at the same time, but they had not announced their game. So that was that. And then there was other stuff like Nim Sony, but again, these were not announced projects and stuff. I think that guy was working at the same time, but you had to dig him up basically to find information about the game. So it was new and it was original and it was a unique selling factor. And if you have a survival crafting open world grind game, there's the problem. You know, it's like, because it's been done a million times. So it's like, what's unique about your open world crafting game? You know what I mean? Like, what's the unique factor that I get in your game and not anyone else's game? And there's the hard part. There's the hard part. Yeah.
And I can tell you, like, I just played a game with the dev the other night, and he was having so much fun with his own game. I was just blown away. So much so that his brother and his father were playing with us. And all three of them were just fucking dying laughing the whole night, like having a blast. I'm like,
brilliant.
This is insane. This is amazing. Like, I've never seen that before. I can't wait till that game comes out because holy crap.
That's brilliant.
So yeah, if you don't enjoy it, then maybe, no one else might either. So
yeah, that's true for this too, because when I was on board in 2018, I was not associated with the game at all. I was just a YouTuber, and I was trying to make a name for myself as a YouTuber reviewing games. And surprise, surprise, my shtick again, YouTubers. Everyone wants to be a YouTuber again. Why watch you and not the 50 million other people who are YouTubers? So my little shtick was, I would try to find games that no one else cared about and talk about them. And I knew I was never going to be huge. I knew I wasn't going to be a big YouTuber or anything like that. But that was my little shtick. That was my little piece of the internet. And so when I came across Blade and Sorcery, no surprise, I loved it because it was completely original. And man, I just played the hell of it. I just was loving it. It was like a drug to me. I just couldn't get enough of it. So I kind of quickly became like a Blade and Sorcery YouTuber as a result. And yeah, I just loved it. It was just, and my kind of philosophy on it was like, I would play this game and it would be a warts and all philosophy, which is like, I fucking hate hyperbole and stuff like that, and that's what everyone does these days. The greatest, must watch the best game you've ever played. 50 YouTube titles. The best game you ever. Is it really the best game you ever played? And I hate that. So my my attitude on Blade and Sorcery was like boring. It was like thumbnails would be real. It wouldn't be like photoshopped or arrows or circles and
face like
things like this thing.
Oh my god!
Wouldn't be like that. It would always be title, Blade and Sorcery, ... whatever the video is. Not the best game ever, because I wasn't trying to sell, I wasn't trying to get clicks or anything like that. No clickbait, no hyperbole. But I fucking loved it. And I think the fans who watched the videos, they knew that. They knew I was just a guy having a laugh. Just laughing me fucking ass off at this game and loving it, and then saying, oh, hey, check out this jank. Like, look at this. Or, oh, there's a bit of a problem here. Developer says he's working on it. Don't try and cover it up. Tell the players, hey, look, this is fun as shit. Here's a problem. Don't worry, we'll fix that. Don't worry about it. And I think that's what really resonated with the very, very, very early Blade and Sorcery supporters. They were just like, this feels authentic. And guess what? It was authentic. And maybe that's the big difference, so that when I actually did officially join the team, it was kind of cool because I had that kind of vibe and reputation, which was like, I'm not going to bullshit you. Like I'm being genuine. I genuinely love this game. I love it. And I'm a gamer myself. I'm a player of this game myself, Yeah. I think that was kind of a big part of the success too, which the fans enjoy. Kind of an authenticity to it.
If I try to Twitch stream or YouTube game and stuff, there's already enough negativity on the planet. PJ and I just played a game last night and I had a blast. But still, if one little janky thing goes wrong, and I don't mean anything towards the Passion Project developers or anything like that, but if it's weirding me out and I can't quite get it, I turn into a filthy sailor mouth over there in the corner trying to figure it out. PJ's by himself defending from hordes of this, that, and the other, and I'm sitting there this doesn't work. I can't do this the way I was just working. Mother effer. I'm just so planet doesn't need any more of that.
Yeah. I don't know, it's maybe it's because it's VR or something like that, or maybe it's just because it is a physics game. So when bugs happen in Blade and Sorcery, generally speaking, they can be funny, the guy gets stuck in a cart, and then the cart starts spinning and it shoots up the wall or something like that. It's so you kind of, you're a little bit more forgiving, but I could see how, if I was playing a flat game, probably would be more bothered by bugs. So
yeah, just depending on, but it's for me, it's I do this and it worked. I do this and I can't grab it the right way, and the gun stops shooting. And it's can't do this, and then I get eaten.
So we have 1 minute. Is there anything that you want to share or didn't get to talk about that you really wanted to touch on? Or
let me see. I mean, I was just happy to have an old chat. Well, I mean, I guess the status at the moment. So U10 had just launched. With PC, working on a patch, there's kind of one serious bug in the PC right now that is being worked on. Some users are having an issue with their headset eye, one eye not working. So I feel so bad for those guys because that's the kind of bug that's not fun. Like, that's like I can't play the game bad. So that's been working on. It's coming soon. Nomad is due for a patch, I think Monday, for a general bug fix patch. There is 2 super annoying issues with Nomad since launch, but there were 2 issues out of our hands. One was if people were using the Oculus multi-account feature, which I didn't even know that was a thing, but apparently it is a thing, and it's causing conflict. The game won't load, and it's literally an Oculus problem that we have no control over. So Oculus are working on that at the moment, but it sucks because I'm talking to those people with that problem. I'm like, so sorry. I wish I could tell you exactly when it'll be fixed, but hopefully that'll be fixed soon. And then the other Nomad thing was your game, if your headset's not up to date, you'll have an issue too. So again, that's just something hopefully players find the answer to that.
Yeah. Still, for what getting that onto the Quest, like that's not bad.
Yeah, and like we're really holding out hope here for like ASW. It's on the Quest. It's supposed to be just this crazy good performance boost. So we're sitting over here thinking, have that. You know what I mean? Like, so we're really hoping it works out. But we have some tech issues that's not super easy to implement. So that's underway at the moment. But we're really hoping that works out because that'd be so nice. The Quest users just got this big boost of frames. So, but other than that, that's about it, I think.
Nice.
You guys still hear me, right? Even though I'm freaking out?
Yep. That's right.
Yeah. We're like, where'd Wookiee go?
I was looking over there and I saw your camera head. I was like, what the hell?
I'm not going to, this is the Quest 1. I think it's having a rough time tonight. Not going to go install Blade and Sorcery Nomad on that, maybe.
Yeah.
Bring the PC version.
But, well, Matt, we thank you so much for coming and talking. It's been awesome. As you can see, it's easy to just keep going, but we'll stop. I love the PC game. I've played Nomad a couple times, not enough that I want to. But I haven't had any issue. I love it. Like the dungeon update is awesome. I love sneaking through and getting up the hijinks.
Brilliant. By the way, there's some secret stuff coming that we've added in for the stealth aspect of the game, which was not even an aspect of the game. But it's the whole classic thing where it's like if the fans are saying something, it's like, well, let's just do it. So we have some cool stuff coming for stealth.
Awesome. I love stealth, so that's good to hear.
Excellent. I'm not sure where you were there.
Limbo.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks very much. It was lovely chatting.
Yeah. I wish you guys all the best. I hope the bugs go away and everything you want to add comes into play. And I've been digging the updates. So
brilliant. Thanks very much.
Cool.
That's all.
Hope you get some sleep.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks a million. Yeah. Cheers. This was brilliant. That flew in. That really flew in.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It's always interesting in a podcast. Like it takes a half hour to kind of warm up and like, okay, we could talk, and then it's gone.
Yeah, I love the way you did this. This is cool.
Yeah.
Fun place to be.
What's like your relationship with the Spatial Ape guys?
We're just they said, hey, we like your podcast. Do you want to do it in our space and be in VR? And I'm like, hell yeah. So
cool. So do you have like a permanent little kind of setup here?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, they're real nice. Your man Jesse. So I was here a few months ago.
Yeah.
I think it was that booth over there, and they had like a little Blade and Sorcery booth.
Yep.
And just chatting about the game and stuff like that. And it was super cool. It was like real unique. I was weirded out at first because everyone's like going and talking to each other, and it's like, when you first log in, it's like, I don't want to just talk to like a rando,
Yep.
But once the boot was set up and people were actually coming up to me, it was like really cool and like surreal actually. Just
everyone in here just genuinely wants to talk to everyone, and
it's
always a good time. It's awesome.
Yeah,
I missed your talk when your booth was in here, but I was in your booth playing around and stuff. But
Brilliant. Yeah, it was like just a lot of like indie devs, just like, hey, I'm making this game, and like, tell me about Blade and Sorcery. Like, how did that go? And actually, speaking of those like developers, saying like, how can I make money? This was one of the places I was saying that to people, like, like, you just got to have an angle. You got to have something that's no one has, and you just got to figure that out. And if you can't figure that out, then maybe the hard truth is you don't have a good thing to sell.
Yeah,
it's hard to hear when you've worked in something for years, but
Yeah.
it's kind of, this is why it's hard. But
Let's say like an author, your first million words are practice words. So I mean,
Yeah,
that's
right.
a lot of words to be writing to be like, what, that's kind of crap.
Yeah. But this is it. It's like if you make a game, you put 2 years in it, and it just doesn't have a sell factor. Well, maybe then that was your training wheels, kind of, and then maybe your next one will be just
Grab some, some of the cool stuff you put in there, grab it, and put it in the next game.
Yeah, but it ain't easy. That's this is it. It ain't easy. So, but anyway, lads, I'm gonna jump off. I'm actually gonna run over here and have a look because I'm curious what that boot is. But then I'm gonna log off anyway. but thanks a million for doing this, and I look forward to checking out.
Awesome.
Have a great night.
Alrighty, see yous.
Thanks again.
He's scooting.
Gone.
He's gone.
Well, everyone, that was the Baron from Blade and Sorcery. There'll be links in the show notes to the games and his contact and all that fun stuff. But definitely a good game on Quest. It runs, like, I'm still shocked that I don't know how it works because it's insane. But check it out.
If these are all Quest 2 screenshots and the video that we're watching over there, it's like, holy crap.
I don't think they are because these are from when he was here last. But
gotcha. But it's still, even like, how are you going to even think to squeeze? Again, I mentioned earlier that Castletown scene. How you, like, they were right in the beginning. You'd be like, that's not going to work. Like, well, he doesn't have to look that good either. Like,
yeah.
Did I just crash? No, okay.
No, you're there. But we'll get to do our sign off for the first time in a while. So thanks everyone for hanging out, watching, and listening. Come back again. I'm PJ.
I'm Wookie.
And this was our VR verdict.
The camera.